so many new pieces to this IU football team.
To me, that's going to set the tone on how you get ready for games on Saturday in the fall.
I would put that Indiana room up against anybody else in the conference, and that's something that we typically don't even come close to saying.
If you want to get total sickos committee about it, there's a position battle at long snapper too.
This is the Hoosier Huddle Podcast, part of the College Huddle Podcast Network.
All right, good evening and happy Bucket Week. We're live. Going to go for about half an hour tonight, so send in your questions. We will have Matt Weaver on the podcast later this evening. It is 9:15, so Matt and I are going to do a recorded podcast later tonight at 10:15. We'll get into all things IU recruiting, which is kind of been the talk of the bye week recently, with a couple decommits and a couple commits as well, and some flips. And we have signing day coming up here in the next week. So it is Bucket Week. IU Purdue is kicking off at 7:30 on NBC on Friday night. So don't miss it on Black Friday. Chance for IU to be on national TV and really get going, get some good exposure. Kirk Zignetti said today that expects Surratt and Kamara to start. We'll see on Drew Evans what happens there. So send in your questions about the Bucket game. Send in your questions for recruiting. I'll send them over to Matt, and we'll get that podcast out tomorrow morning. So welcome. Send your comments in on X, on YouTube, and we'll get started here. Jamie Jordan from IU Reactionary should be able to join us, as well as Alex Compton. So we'll get going here and get some conversation going. But yeah, Indiana's 11-0, going for 12-0 and a 9-0 undefeated regular season. Of course, you want to win the Bucket game to get there. You're sitting pretty for the Big Ten championship game as well. All those tiebreak scenarios are on the site. All right, Jamie, how are you doing?
I'm good. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I could hear you.
Okay, perfect. I just wanted to make sure that all the stuff I have going on here is working here, because I got different stuff for work versus this kind of stuff.
Yeah, work and not work.
You're correct.
But yeah, Jamie has been an awesome addition, despite his Boston fandom, to Hoosier Huddle and the IU Reactionary series, we'll call it. Has been a fantastic addition to the site. Jamie, what did you do during the bye week when there was no IU football, and then we'll look at the Bucket game.
Sure. Yeah, So I actually watched a lot. I typically always watch football regardless on Saturday, but I watched a lot of games, and it was interesting watching something like teams like Wisconsin play. I thought Penn State was pretty interesting. Seems like those two are actually playing better football right now. Nebraska isn't very good, but I mean, Penn State put a whooping on them. So that made me feel a little bit better, because I know IU has struggled down the stretch here, as they seem to be like they're tired or they're injured or both.
Yeah, they're missing key pieces at key spots. We talk about Drew Evans all the time and his record when he's on the field with IU. He's been out. You're missing an All-American wide receiver. You missed Aiden Fisher for a game. So, yeah, it's a lot of injured. Bye week came at a perfect time, but, oh, man, Penn State looks really good. I think I saw a tweet somewhere that said, "Man, how did James Franklin mess up that team?" And all that.
Yeah,
stuff.
I honestly that is one of the bigger questions because I actually think James Franklin. I didn't think he was like a game changing coach, but like that team is loaded. So I don't, and even when they had Drew Aller. So I mean, I don't know what he was doing, or maybe he was trying to get out of it. I have no idea, but you never know.
Yeah, and then Wisconsin looks like, I mean, Wisconsin again had a dominating defense,
Right.
a good run game, and they put the hurting on Illinois. The game, I kind of watched Notre Dame just because the beginning of that game was so crazy. They had 21 points. The offense didn't even step on the field.
Yeah, it was wild.
Yeah. So going into bucket week, what are you looking for?
So I think that I'm always going to have my guard up. I think that even with how good this team has been over the last 2 years with Signetti, I just always think weird stuff happens during these bucket games. I don't think IU is going to. I'm writing about this now, but I don't think IU is going to lose necessarily. But I do think I'm going to pick them to cover. But I do want to say, I want to preface this by saying I don't think that Purdue has been dead in the water. If you watch some of their last couple games, I thought they actually played pretty well against Michigan. I know OSU is kind of going through it, the motions. Basically, they're not really. I think they're just trying to get to the postseason, so that's not really a barometer. But I just feel like for me, looking at this game, I think that it's going to be cold. So we're going to have to see how IU reacts to that, especially with, I think Curtis Rourke being from Canada kind of helped him out. The opposite is true for Fernando Mendoza being from Miami. So we will see something there. But I just think that IU's too, they're too much.
It's going to be cold, but it's not going to be windy.
No wind. It looks like wind. Yeah.
It helps. And Hooperazzi, thanks for sending in the question. Jay, let's talk about Purdue's quarterback situation. They brought back Ryan Brown. They've been playing.
Yeah, he was at North Carolina for a little while, like for the spring or something, and then came back.
Yeah, he did spring practice. Yeah, he did spring practice at North Carolina with Coach Belichick. Then went back into the portal and returned to Purdue. So it's a weird situation, but and especially with the new coaching staff, you'd think that you'd want to be there in spring, but he won the job at a fall camp. He's familiar with Purdue, but it's a whole new coaching staff, so the system's different and all that stuff. And I think
that's true.
Coach Odom said that he was playing both quarterbacks this week.
I think both quarterbacks were definitely going to play. It seems like Malachi Singleton, who's the other one. I think he's a redshirt freshman, or maybe he's he was at Arkansas last year. He looks like he could be a pretty good quarterback. Big dude, like 6'1", 235 or so. I think that's what he's listed at. So big, strong kid. They bring him in to run the ball all the time. I think both him and Ryan Brown are both, they can both run the ball. But it's going to be interesting to see what Malachi Singleton does. Cause I think they're going to, if I'm them, I don't know why you play Ryan Brown all that much. He has not been good the last couple of weeks. I know he had an injury earlier in the season, but like, why not just see what you got with Malachi Singleton, especially in a game like this, and maybe use both of them? Obviously, I guess would be fine, just to kind of show two different looks, I guess, because Singleton's much more of a runner than a passer. Brown seems like the opposite of that. It is going to be interesting. I think that the biggest problem that Purdue is going to have throwing the ball down the field is just. Their offensive line is not nearly as bad as it was last year. I just think IU is going to be looking to. I don't know. I think defense is going to be looking to make a statement here.
Yeah, I think so too. And to me, if I'm Barry Odom and that offensive staff, both of these guys are sophomore eligibility,
right,
and are probably going to be part of. That's what CFP stats says. I don't want to give Purdue's website any more clicks than I have to this week. But yeah, so to me, it's kind of like maybe this is a tryout for next year, because we all know the old Walt Bell saying, "Oh, we've got like 4 quarterbacks." Well, when you have multiple quarterbacks, you usually don't have one. So that's kind of what Purdue is going in. I think IU's defense is going to tee off. Now, the big question that TJ and I talked about on the podcast today is how long do you keep your foot on the gas? And I think somebody asked Sig this, and he kind of stuffed that reporter or media member in a trash can today. Hey, our focus is 100% on Purdue and all that, but at the same time, you have very important key pieces coming back from injury, and you want to get, like, if you're up early, do you pull the plug? Not saying you get super conservative, but do you say, hey, Elijah, take a seat. Caleb Black, take a seat. Mikhail Kamara, take a seat. I doubt Drew Evans plays. I just don't think you put him out there in that. But all those guys, like Khalil Benson, how's his ankle? Because it clearly has affected him, his mobility. And he's gutted it out, and he deserves credit for that. But it's affected his mobility. Hey, maybe let's take our foot off the gas that way. It's the wrong way to put it, but yeah.
No. I mean, so let me just jump in. If it was me in that situation, I mean, I'm not. If there's any twinge at all with any of these guys, I mean, I'm just hesitant.
Especially at 2026, especially with guys like Brendan Frankie, they didn't give an update for, but it looked like a groin injury, and you're not going to need him anyway. And it's 26 degrees. And look,
that's the thing for me. Any of the soft tissue stuff, the cold weather, that's scary to me. But I would like to see, would it be awesome to see those guys? Sure. Maybe they need a tune-up, but yeah, I mean, I'd be getting, if they're going to play, I'd get Surratt, give him a quarter, see what's what. Kamara, I mean, it seems with him, it's a shoulder injury, and it seems like it's like popping in and out or something like that. Obviously it's painful, but it's something to do with, like that. But
a little Juwan Morgan shoulder.
Korea, there you go. And that a good reference there. But I guess my point is more that for me, I would just want to limit the amount of snaps that they have altogether. And with the way Charlie Becker, specifically with Surratt, is playing, I don't know, unless he's truly 100%, which he could be, because he was pretty close to going against Wisconsin. He's had the extra week of rest here. Maybe he's good to go. But I mean, I'm just was kind of quickly perusing PFF here. Purdue's offensive line, like the interior of the offensive line, is not very bad. The exterior is really bad. Joey Tenona and Bakine Coley, they have allowed 59 pressures and 14 penalties against. So I don't think you need Mikhail Kamara if there's any, you know what I mean? Like, don't push it. Like you get in Daniel Ndukwe some snaps, he's not redshirting or anything like that. Maybe get some of the other guys some snaps. I don't know. So that would be the way I would go, but Sig likes to just, I mean, he's, if you're close to being healthy, I want you out there. So,
yeah, I mean, everybody does. And I think it's not an FAFO game. You don't want it to be like that. And if you start, like, you got to prepare for it. Like it's the biggest game on the schedule because it's the next one, but that's how you got to prepare for it. You're not preparing to hold out, but you go through warm-ups. And I think they did this with Surratt at Penn State and Wisconsin. How do you feel? Okay. Yeah, I feel about 90%. Okay. Take a seat. Maybe he feels 100%. You play him in the first half, you get up big coming out of halftime in the cold. Maybe you don't let him go 100% and you sit him. This isn't going to be the let's play Fernando Mendoza 4 quarters when you're up 50 points to pad stats. I think that's a short-sighted view. As awesome as it would be to help his Heisman campaign, I do think he's the front runner, and it will come down to the Big Ten championship game, especially if it's Julian saying against Fernando. But let's get to some questions. Adam said, getting ahead of ourselves, will you guys be in Indy December 6th, and what kind of tailgate do you think the Alumni Association will put together? We will be in Indy. It will be a huge day for IU fans with both basketball and football going. It's one of those days, Jamie, and I know you're a dad. It's one of those days where like the babysitting budget is kind of unlimited. You come as early as you can, stay as late as you can, and just hope that the next day you feel all right. But yeah, we'll be down there. I think the Alumni Association, they do stuff really well. I don't know up in Chicago they have stuff, but like when we've gone to away games, they had something at Oregon and they set up a tent and all that stuff. I'm sure they'll have.
Typically they have a tent and otherwise if it's an away game, they have a tent, but they also typically have a bar meetup type situation.
Yeah. When we went out to Oregon, we had a bar meetup. Now it wasn't the Alumni Association. It was put together by fans. Okay. They rented out the back room at a bar. For Indianapolis, the way it's set up, I guarantee you they have a bar set up. And being down there for a couple Big Ten title games, that's what they do. Alumni associations will reserve the bar, and that'll be the official one, and then fans will spread out all over Indy. We're trying to put together a group. Like we were a little late to the game getting reservations at places, but put together a group, maybe meet on Georgia Street before basketball, and then in between basketball and football. To go to different places to enjoy it because they have a nice setup. More TDs or punts for IU's offense on Friday. I kind of said this to TJ as well on a best bets. What's going to be higher is Purdue's team total or the temperature. Temperature is around 26 degrees. I think everybody at IU would be kind of mad if they went over that.
So just to like Purdue is averaging up. I mean, they're putrid in offense. They've only averaged 20.2 points per game. That's 118th in FBS. I mean, that's just awful. They're also minus 10 in turnover margin. So it's like it would be. So for me, with the way that I see this game going, I don't know if IU is going to kind of like choke them out like they did last year. I just think that they're going to kind of slowly, methodically go down the field. I hope at least that's the the game plan is just to kind of, you don't need huge chunk plays over and over again. Just kind of dink and dunk them into submission, kind of like you've done with a lot of teams all year. So over under IU punts or was it IU punts or Purdue scores?
IU touchdowns or IU punts. What's more?
Oh, I think it's IU touchdowns. I would say I think that IU's going to. I've just been going. I wrote this a bunch of this yesterday, and like just going over Purdue's numbers, like they are just not very good again.
Yeah,
and
I could see IU kind of. If you remember the Oregon game at Purdue last year, they came in. It was a Friday night game, and they just. I don't want to say they grinded out a 35-0 win, but they took care of business, showed no doubt, and were like, let's just get out of here.
I thought Ohio State has been doing that, and they kind of did that as well.
They did that at Purdue too. Yeah, it was, hey, let's get up, let's win by a convincing margin, to where it's not like 27-10 or something like you look back on and go, how do you let up 10 points to Purdue, or how is it a 17-point game and you give them whatever committee they have like a discussion point. It's take care of business, kind of like the Wisconsin game for IU, except you want it to look a little cleaner and sharper. Like just
see, I'm thinking kind of the same thing. The difference is that I wrote about this as well, but like going into that Wisconsin game, that their defense, I was really shocked at how good their defense is. If you look under the hood, kind of like, oh yeah, they're getting killed in these games. They're actually playing pretty well at defense. Their offense is just so bad that they're on the field so much. That's just not the case with Purdue. I mean, I'm just looking at the EPA.
No, that might be a thing like that. IU, they're not going to sit on the ball, but you could have 7 drives and score 7 touchdowns, and then in the second half, just give the ball to Kobe Martin, and Purdue could do what Illinois did and just let them run wild, or you could kind of just run out the clock that way and limit possessions. I did say 52-3.
I heard. I think I was listening to it. I don't know if I got there actually, but 52-3 that's not bad.
52-3. I think with the cold, I think Purdue is going to try and limit possessions, but their offense is so bad, and things like that. And if if IU's offense could get into rhythm, if there's no incomplete passes, the clock doesn't stop. And it's just going to run, and you're going to limit possessions. I do think 52-3 is good for me.
Yeah, well, and that's the reason I was kind of comparing them to Wisconsin is like Wisconsin's just atrocious against the pass, and so is Purdue's defense. They're like 126 in EPA per pass, but their run game is, I mean, it's middling. It's 65 in against the rush. I think that what IU tried to do against Wisconsin on 2 Saturdays ago. Geez, 2 Saturdays ago now.
Yeah.
They kind of came out and tried to establish the run, and the run that wasn't working. Now, again, Wisconsin's a much better defense, so I think that with much better athletes, so I think that was something that was like maybe they just couldn't do, and then they were like, okay, well, we're not going to be able to do this. Let's just start passing, which is what they did in the second half, essentially. I do think IU is going to try to establish the run, and I think they're going to want to slow the game down. Also,
yeah,
that's where
you're going to limit the opportunities that Purdue could put a shot on Mendoza.
Correct.
I think
that's totally my take as well.
Yeah, because there was a hit late in the game where Mendoza either hit his head on the turf or something, right, and he was kind of slow getting up, and he went to the tent, and you kind of held your breath, like, oh no, don't let this happen. So, it's. You want to protect them, but look, they also haven't played in 2 weeks. They need to get into a rhythm. So
I'm going just so I have it out there. I'm going to pick 45-10. I think that the first half goes a little bit like the first half with Wisconsin, except I think IU's up by multiple scores. I think Purdue probably gets a garbage time touchdown. IU's
Purdue is not going to take off 7.5 minutes on the first drive.
That's also very true. I didn't even really think about that, but that's also very true. They are not going to, and especially I wrote about this too. But like Devin Mockabee, as much as I can't stand Purdue, that kid laid it all on the line for that school. So it's too bad that he's not out there. But the other kids are fine. The other guys that they have running, but they're not. Devin Mockabee was legit. I think he's forced like 30 more tackles than Roman Hemby. And now Roman Hemby is not that kind of back where he's like, busting tackles and stuff all the time. But, it just puts into perspective, they basically have the same amount of carries in their career, and one's got 30 more missed tackles forced. So I think that they're going to be missing that. And I don't think that they're going to be able to sustain drives against IU's defense.
No, you're not going to see them. They might go for the 4th and 1s or 4th and shorts and stuff like that, but they're not going to have the efficiency that either Wisconsin or Penn State had. As well in the running game. I just do want to comment. We'll have Matt Weaver on the podcast later tonight. We're doing a late night recruiting podcast. I will ask him about the decommitments. I do think that's part of the reason, but there are other things at play as well in the recruiting flips. But it sounds, from all indications, it sounds like it's mutual. Bucket games are different. Jamie, I talked about this on the podcast, brought up some bad memories for people. The 1989 bucket game, where there are a lot of similarities. Indiana's a heavy favorite. There's postseason. Now, Indiana's in the postseason, and they're in the playoff, but there are postseason implications. You want to get to the Big Ten title game. You want to get that first round bye. And you have Fernando Mendoza going for the Heisman Trophy. In 1989, there was no bucket, no bowl, no Heisman. Purdue went into Bloomington and beat Indiana 15-14 on a missed field goal. That has to be talked about at Purdue. If Purdue is going to win that game, that's got to be to bring up another bad memory. The 04 Red Sox story. They should have just fired Eric Boone when he used that story to fire him up against the Astros. But that, hey, this has been done before. Let's try and do it again. So what do you think IU's focus is like? They've been, because I don't know if it's as laser focused as in the past, because Cignetti has hammered that point home. In the press, and he loves to send messages to his players through the press that, hey, it's one game at a time. We're 100% focused on Purdue. We're trying to fight complacency all the time, and also that they're going to get people's best shots. That's my matchup to watch. Spoiler alert, I know I like to go off the rails on the matchup to watch. It's IU's focus against Purdue's best shot, because you are going to get Purdue's best shot.
Yeah, I mean, I think IU's been getting team's best shot for a little while now. Like I thought, even in the Maryland game when they blew them out, like Maryland made a bunch of stupid mistakes, but they were playing okay in the first half.
The first 5 minutes, people got a little nervous, and
Yeah.
I think the defense, once the defense held them to that field goal after the interception, that got them off. What was it? They started inside the 15.
Correct.
That was kind of an okay side.
That was my breathing moment. Was like, okay, all right, we got this. But yeah, I mean, the offense looked very bad to start the game.
Yes.
In that one, and the defense held up there into the bargain. Now, against against Purdue, against Penn State, I thought they took off their foot off the gas, and the complacency actually did set in, and that was actually like kind of a little bit of alarm bells kind of going off. Because but Penn State is not Purdue. They don't have the athletes that Penn State does. No. They don't have the athletes that Wisconsin does. I've really admired what Purdue has done against, with Barry Odom. Like last year, they had just completely quit on Ryan Walters,
and they were more talented than this year's team. Way more.
I totally agree. They were Max Clare is gonna probably like a first 2-round pick.
He was an All-American last year. You had an All-American and Dylan Thieneman on the other side of the ball.
Right.
You had Devin Mockabee, who's
he was about to pass Mike Allstott if he had kept going. So I just think that they were more talented last year than they are this year. But the team that I've watched, and I haven't, I don't watch full games of theirs, but the stuff that I have watched, like the condensed highlights and stuff of the games, so I can write about it. They don't give up. They actually are fighting, and that's I do have the respect. Barry Odom gets my respect because you could easily, in this day and age when it's just the season's just over and you have 2 wins and you haven't won in multiple months, you could just be quitting, but they didn't. And I thought they looked pretty good against Michigan. I thought even against Ohio State's, not really trying that hard, I thought they looked pretty good. They should have beaten Minnesota. They probably should have beaten Rutgers. So I think that with the off week to reset, I think that IU's going to come out focused. At least I hope they do.
They should. I mean, I have no question that they will. They have never come out not ready to play, if that makes sense. Now they've had some bad starts, but it wasn't because they weren't ready or unprepared or anything like that. Under Signetti, there's no doubt in my mind that they'll have a good game plan and that they'll start, that they're prepared to play. It's not going to be like, previous coaches where all of a sudden you're 8 minutes into the game and it's 28-0 and you're going, what the hell just happened?
No, I totally agree. I think that they'll come out. So I think especially with the defense, I think the defense is going to come out flying. I think they are going to realize that there's going to be blood in the water quickly. But again, this is a quarterback that, they've kind of, both of these quarterbacks can run. So I think that IU's kind of got to be looking for that. I also am hoping to see that they don't.
Yeah, but it's not all that much of a change up anymore. Like you went through, and you make a good point. Like you got to watch it, but it's like it used to be kind of like running the option. But you played Ian Maliava, Aiden Childs, who ran the ball well. The kid from ODU, Joseph Colton, smacked you in the face a couple of times. You played Dante Moore, who could run, and you did okay. Gronkowski could run at Iowa. So it's like you're kind of used to, hey, my antenna's up for the quarterback run.
No, and I agree with that. What I was going to say was that I think that that's kind of the only thing that they need to really worry about, because if you look at the numbers for Purdue, like they're not explosive at all. And so I think that the only thing that can really get this team is the blown coverage, which to me, honestly, that's focus. It's what I have been a little bit surprised about this year has been that. And then
they're good for one blown coverage a game.
Correct. And then the other thing is the over pursuit. the running back and letting the quarterback kind of scramble around. Now, I don't know if it's going to happen in this game. But those are the two things to me that it's like more focus related. However, I just have a hard time seeing Purdue moving the ball that much, just given what I've been reading and the numbers I've been looking at here.
Yeah, we'll go another 5 minutes, a little bit. What do you expect out of this crowd? There has been Purdue is selling it as a blackout. It's not really sold out yet. There's a couple seats left. But there's a IU fan movement on social media to stripe out Ross-Ade Stadium. What percent is it going to be 50-50, or will it be more IU people than Purdue, or the other way around?
I think it's I don't 50-50 seems like the Purdue fans regardless have been pretty good about showing up. I don't think they're going to need, like, this is their Super Bowl here. So I would not be surprised if it's 60-40 Purdue. I think there's going to be a ton of IU people there though.
Yes.
So
there's always a lot of IU people there. But
it's also going to be weird because there's no students. That's another thing that is, like, it's such a weird time that it's Friday night. That's very weird to me. So I don't know how it's going to look, but it would be awesome if it was 50-50. I do think that, like, when I was at I obviously saw you there, but I was at the Northwestern game, and I thought that was like, there was like more IU fans there than Northwestern fans. And it was like a huge boost. I felt like the team was like feeding off the crowd a lot of the time. So that would actually be a huge deal. And I know that IU fans have shown up everywhere. So I have no doubt they'll show up. I just don't know if it's going to be 50-50 or if it's going to be, 40-60 IU to Purdue.
I
hope it's 50-50.
It'll be interesting to see how many Purdue students show up, because they have on the Saturday games, their students will show up for this game. We'll see if on Friday night at 22 degrees.
Yeah, that's yeah, I agree.
That's the big question.
That's what I'm waiting to see.
Yeah. But I think the rest, if you've seen Ohio State play there, like, that whole side outside of the student section is red. And you could call that probably 40%. I would think that, because you can't see the press box side.
Yeah.
But yeah, they come back from Thanksgiving break, but I get it. I know IU fans, the IU students used to never come back for football and all that stuff. And
yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie. So a lot of times I think, like, I barely came back because it was just like, I was like 5.5 hours away. So I get it. We'll see what happens with Purdue fans, but they're typically from Indy or from way far away. So. So Jamie, we'll get you out on this. Sure.
Tell us a little bit about what you're focusing on in your IU reactionary preview this week.
Yeah. So I obviously give my score prediction. I said 45-10. S&P Plus sees it as 43-9. I try to do I really like S&P Plus, but I try to, like, figure out what the line is and then go from there. So I'm pretty close to S&P Plus. I don't see IU losing this game, obviously, but I do think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be. I don't want to say it's tight, but it's not going to be. I don't think it's going to be a blowout like some people do. Now, could it be? Yes. And then in my article here, I touch on just how bad Purdue's offense really is. It's like they're 96th in FBS. It's pretty bad. Again, no Devin Mockabee, which I think is a big deal. We'll see which quarterback they go with. I don't really think it matters much. I think that the linebacking core of IU is going to kind of feast. They're just not really explosive. You got to attack the edges. And then I guess contain USC transfer Michael Jackson and Georgia transfer Nitro Tuggle, which they're fine. They're okay wide receivers, but I don't know. They're nothing special. As far as, like, on offense, I don't know how much they're going to throw because I think that they're going to want to slow down the game. But that's the best way to beat Purdue, is just to throw. They are not good on the outside. And their pass rush
that they were going to throw too, but yeah, it's
okay. Good.
This is a get out of, like, because somebody asked about Mendoza in the cold. It's like, no, we're going to have to throw the ball.
Yeah. I mean, I wrote about this, but, like, Purdue has 737 total snaps this year on defense. They have 149 pressures. That's a 20% rate. That doesn't include rushing. So I don't know how to filter that out. If I write about this, but if you can figure that out, please at me because I'd like to know. But just to compare that to IU's only had 611 snaps on defense, which is just wild. But they have 214 pressures for a 35% pressure rate. I just think IU's going to be in the backfield all the time. And I think that there's going to be kind of like a slipped coverage for a touchdown later in the game. I think it could be, 21-3, 17-3 at half, maybe 24-3 at half, something like that. And then I just think IU's going to kind of turn it on and do the same thing in the second half. So yeah, that's kind of what I wrote about. I really do want to see what the deal is with the injuries, because that to me is the biggest thing. Obviously there's no reason to play Drew Evans if he's even, we don't know anything, but if he's anywhere close, you don't play Drew Evans. But then also, again, you said EJ Williams, obviously Elijah Surratt. Those two are very important. This Charlie Becker has done yeoman's work, but
EJ, because EJ is that kind of depth at that outside receiver.
Well, that's what I was going to say. EJ there's been multiple games in a row, just like with Khalil Benson, where he's looked like he's hobbled. And I feel like it's kind of like slowing him down. And we know with EJ's injury history, I just think EJ is such a good player. He's not going to beat you with speed, but he basically makes every one of those 7-yard out catches. And then he can make those absurd catches like the one down the sideline that Fernando Mendoza threw to him against Iowa. So just managing those injuries and seeing who's back, who's not back. I think my biggest key to the game is see what the guys, if they're healthy again, so hopefully they're healthy, and then stay healthy. Very nervous about that. That's one of the things that I've just watching some of these games down the stretch here, especially against Wisconsin, who was a very physical team, much more physical than I kind of thought, even though I watched basically their entire Washington game last 3 weeks ago now that they won. That was kind of they were more physical in the IU game than they were in that Washington game. I don't think Purdue is as physical. It's very scary that you could be going into, the biggest game in the history of IU against one of the best teams that IU's ever played. And you just want to be healthy,
Yeah, that's kind of what happened to EJ against Wisconsin. He got tackled around the ankles and came up gimpy. So you don't know if it's an ankle sprain or, you just twisted and a retape job and stuff like that. And especially playing on a cold field that's probably not going to be in great shape.
At least it's grass.
Yeah. It might be frozen grass.
Oh, that's actually very true. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, you're right.
Frozen grass.
Yeah.
And it's usually not in great shape at the end of the season. For a Cal college, Purdue needs better grass. So, we'll get you out on that, Jamie. Thanks for joining me. IU Reactionary goes in depth. It is a paid article, and it is totally worth the price of admission. It usually comes out twice a week with a preview and a reaction, but I think this week is only once because
just one
we're coming off a bye week. So,
that's true.
If you're sick of family, if you need a break and need 15 minutes to read Jamie's stuff, it is well worth 15 minutes and $3. So, thanks.
Appreciate the kind words.
Yeah. Any questions for Matt Weaver tonight, Jamie?
I love Matt. Been on Peegs pretty much literally only because of Matt I don't want to be mean to like the other to Rab Johns or whatever, but Matt's football stuff is why I was on Peegs for so long. You got to ask about Matt Sieg, I believe his name is. I don't know exactly how you say it. See where he's at, because I know he was at Virginia Tech this past weekend.
Which makes sense.
Yeah, totally. And then does he have any other 26s? I know 27's coming up here quickly, which is wild, but 26s, is there anyone else that he thinks IU could be in on with all the coaching movement that's probably going to happen or is already happening
I think we'll see a big portal class. I think they're done outside of maybe Sieg in the 2026 high school class. But you'll see I think maybe a 20-person portal class, which
Yeah,
makes sense, especially with guys who might go to the NFL and things like that.
Yeah, I'm going to write about this at some point here, but I have, I was putting together, obviously I have that Google Sheets roster page that I've been doing for the last couple of years. And I kind of started moving stuff over to 20, to the actual year of 26, adding the freshmen to it just to see where they are. And man, they are very, very, very young, very young. Mostly at a lot of the positions, you have some positions like, corner has, depending on if Pons comes back, but you should have Jamari Sharp. You should have, maybe Rylan Gandy. So those are positions where you have seniors, but there's a lot of other positions where they are super young because they're going to be missing a bunch of guys on the offensive line, depending on what the wide receivers, Omar Cooper does. They're going to 3 wide receivers gone. Anyway, so yeah, one, you could ask him if he thinks, you said 20. I mean, do you think they go young, or do you think they go do you think they do go development guys, or do you think they go strictly seniors, that kind of thing?
So I did a portal shopping list article that's up on the site now.
I saw it. Yep.
And I think that the key word that I said was bridge. I think you're going to get guys to bridge the gap from that youth. So, you look at, take the linebackers. You have Henry Ollinger and Jacob Savage coming in. You need to bridge that gap from Isaiah Jones, Bro Hardy, and Caden Turner to those guys. So do you go get depth pieces, or do you go get, a starter? I think Isaiah Jones and Elijah Hardy are going to be your starters next year. Go get some guy, like somebody who could be an Isaiah Jones from this year, like be that third linebacker. Unless Caden Turner could be the third guy. And then you could just go get a depth guy. Get a guy who's played, who you could trust, and is, maybe a redshirt junior or senior with a year of eligibility left. So, all right. Well, Jamie, thanks for joining us.
Appreciate it.
Have a happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy the
you
family
too.
time.
See you guys later. Read my stuff. Thank you.
Yep. And we'll be back on with Matt Weaver tonight. I'll post that tomorrow.